Oh, Peter butt plug. He's had quite a week for himself, right? He was one of the more moderate candidates when he was up there, but he's really just made a total asshole out of himself since becoming Secretary of Transportation, right? About a week ago, he got called out for staging a completely and utterly phony stunt where he showed the necessity of bicycles, I guess, but we should have known that one was staged because that bicycle had a seat when he showed up. So, Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg was mocked by conservative critics online after a video appeared to show security staffers unloading his bike from the back of an SUV so he could ride to an April Fool's cabinet meeting. See, it was just a joke, guys. Don't bother looking at the howdy-doody looking motherfucker questioning anything that he does. Two SUVs then followed the millennial cabinet secretary. I think he's like 35 or something, but he looks a hell of a lot older. Caught in the act, says right-wing author and filmmaker Dinesh D'Souza. Good dude, by the way. Buttigieg has a history of gimmicky stunts, just for show, doing a desk job on a military base for a few weeks, then trying to pose as a combat veteran. Now, this is a phony stunt, added radio host Mark Simone. He rode a bike to the White House cabinet meeting, and he rode his bike past to the DOT after the meeting. The Department of Transport told the Post, well, sucks to suck, buddy. Looks like there's something a little bit off about this, right? What they didn't show before that is, the bike coming out of that SUV right there, making sure that he has his goofy little helmet on, and then after he puts on his little goofy ankle protector, he rides off to make sure that all the cameras are there. Things are perfectly staged for him, and oh boy, isn't that just a fucking touching moment like a handsy uncle. Look at this CNN shill. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg biked to the White House for today's cabinet meeting. It would appear Buttigieg is, of course, not the first secretary to opt for an alternate modes of transportation to work. What a cocksucking hack. What a hack. That's why you can't take CNN seriously. Speaking of people you can't take seriously, once again, Woody from Toy Story decided that he would make a bold claim about infrastructure jobs. I think you guys might remember this one. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg admitted on this week's broadcast of Fox News Sunday, I gotta give him a little bit of credit, at least went to the opposition's talk show, something that many other in that cabinet would not even have the balls on the chin to do, that he said should have been more precise when confronted by the accuracy of the number of jobs that he said he would create by President Joe Biden's infrastructure proposal. On Buttigieg's claim to several media outlets, anchor Chris Wallace said, well, it turns out that studying or citing from Moody's Analytics says the economy will add 16.3 million jobs without the infrastructure bill and 2.7 million more with it. So it doesn't, as you said last Sunday, create 19 million jobs. Again, Secretary Buttigieg, why mislead folks? Howdy Doody responded, well, you're right, I should have been more precise. And then they all hugged and everybody stood up and clapped. We went through that Moody's Analytics, very respected Wall Street firm, yet definitely has deep Democratic ties, and we've also gone through pretty much all of Biden's tax plans, infrastructure plans. It just looks like a big old Ponzi scheme. So, okay, he's a shit cyclist. He's a really bad economist. What other gaffes could he make? He's really terrible for the automobile industry. And you think that he should be a rather large proponent of it because, well, considering his job title, Americans are using the wrong transportation or none at all. What the fuck do you possibly mean by that? I think we know because Democrats, liberals, up here in Canada, called liberals, same goddamn deal. At least here they have the decency of being a red party. But it's the individuality. It's the freedom of the personal automobile. That's what's wrong about it. No, you need to be crammed together in our government-funded buses. The government will take you where you need to go, according to the government. They will pick you up at your allocated time, and they will drop you off at your allocated government facility for you to rest for the evening, come back, and go out once again on the government clock, on the government dime, paid by you, of course. The state will always allocate the proper amount of resources, don't you know? Yeah. And that's what he's petitioning for here. Secretary of Transport, I'm tired of saying his name, told reporters at the White House on Friday afternoon that Americans were using the wrong forms of transportation, a problem he said President Biden would fix with his infrastructure plan. Sure he would. Buttigieg also claimed that some Americans have no access to transportation at all. What? Don't you have 2 feet and a heartbeat? He added that Americans would once again be challenged to expand their ideas about infrastructure, which he said went far beyond roads and bridges. What, like buildings? Americans are spending too much of their money on transportation in the wrong ways. I don't need the government to tell me how to spend my money, thanks. Or don't have access to it at all. Wow. And the American people are making it clear to all of us, regardless of party, that they want us to get it done. They want you to actually fuck off. That's what they're telling me. And they are not asking us to tinker around the edges. We have risen to the challenge before as a country. In fact, building bold infrastructures has ways been central to American story. We built the Erie Canal. Nice relevant fucking comparison. We connected east to west through the Transcontinental Railroad. Well, not you. No, I wouldn't trust you with a hammer, nor would I think that you'd be able to pick it up. And we developed the interstate highway system. Again, very relevant things. And each of those was audacious, was transformative, and partly because it challenged the American people to expand our concept of infrastructure. What? Roads, railroads, and canals? Yeah, that's really challenging what the fuck modern technology can really put forth. But in doing so, these projects transformed our nation for the better. Why don't you fuck off and leave me with my own money? That'd be great, thanks. Dummy didn't explain what the wrong ways of transportation were. He reassured workers that the infrastructure of the future would need workers who are good with steel. Is that his favorite texture? Anyways, here's the final point. Racism is physically built into the country's highways. Perhaps that's the type of infrastructure that he wants. He wants everything back to like how the railroads were made. He wants to make sure that different groups only work on certain projects. Or maybe, I don't know, this is what happens when you take critical race theory to its logical end. Maybe you just see everything through the lens of racism, right? Even if there's nothing there. Even if it's, listen, I'm just going to build with Lego. It's like, how can I work racism into that? I hate this type of stuff, right? I don't see a crack in the sidewalk and go, God damn blacks! I don't run over a pothole in my vehicle and I go, God damn Asians! Oh, I was actually just going to go to the supermarket, but instead I'm going to go to a massage parlor and shoot it up. This shit's fucking retarded. Racism is physically built into the country's highways. God, you're stupid. Transportation Secretary, same name as always. In a recent interview, that racism is built into the country's highway system. There is racism physically built into some of our highways. What, instead of tar, is it actually make your own joke? That's why the Jobs Plan has specifically committed to reconnect some of the communities that were divided by these dollars. What do you mean, these dollars? In an interview discussing President Joe Biden's infrastructure plan, Buttigieg explained that several major highways in the United States negatively affect minority communities. Are Latinos not allowed to drive on the fucking roads in Montana? Like, what are we talking about? Well, if you're in Washington, I'm told that the history of the highway is one that was built in the expanse of the communities of color in the D.C. area. This is what happens. These people listen to those in their own little circles, and their circle of influence outside of the people that they see every day in Washington, it is Twitter. This is where these people take all of their fucking information from. They don't go out there. They don't see their constituents, like, right? Because Petey Boy was the mayor of South Bend, Indiana. I know it was Indiana. He should have a pretty good grasp on what regular people are like. Do they run around in small town Indiana, or medium-sized town Indiana, constantly thinking about racism? I highly fucking doubt it, right? If you want to appeal to the center, if you want to appeal to a much larger base than just the far left radical base that you guys have cultivated so far, if you want to have a goddamn hope of not having a slaughter in 2022, wouldn't you stop talking about racism, sexism, xenophobia, all the ists and all the isms that I couldn't be asked to think of at this point? Wouldn't you be trying to appeal to the other side of the aisle by just kind of dropping all that lingo, instead just focusing on, you know what, hey, we're going to redo some roads, we're going to redo some buildings, we could really use the private sector's help. Give them the contracts. instead of trying to racialize everything. Just a stupid fucking take from a guy who, since the time that he stepped into or even was nominated for the position, has just had bad take after bad take, and I don't think it's going to let up anytime soon. And that's just Howdy Doody's MO. I, for one, just really wish that he would embrace his homosexuality, come out and all leather clad in a Harley Davidson. That would really appeal to the metalheads in the middle of the country. With that said, I thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.